I'm Benjamin Jason.
There you go.
I'm there for my wife emotionally, spiritually, and freaking sexually. I get rock hard whenever she needs it. You think you're some hot body home wrecker? I'll wreck your fucking face.
There you go. Don't tell him he's hot.
Jury nullification occurs when a jury in a criminal trial gives a not guilty verdict, regardless of whether they believe a defendant has broken the law. The jury's reasons may include the belief that the law itself is unjust, that the prosecutor has misapplied the law in the defendant's case, that the punishment for breaking the law is too harsh, or general frustrations with the criminal justice system. Some juries have also refused to convict due to their own prejudices in favor of the defendant. Such verdicts are possible because a jury has an absolute right to return any verdict it chooses. Nullification is not an official part of criminal procedure, but is the logical consequence of two rules governing the systems in which it exists. 1. Jurors cannot be punished for passing an incorrect verdict. And 2. In many jurisdictions, a defendant who is acquitted cannot be tried a second time for the same offense. A jury verdict that is contrary to the letter of the law pertains only to the particular case before it. However, if a pattern of acquittals develops in response to repeated attempts to prosecute a particular offense, this can have the de facto effect of invalidating the law. Such a pattern may indicate public opposition to an unwanted legislative enactment. Welcome to Rock Hard Caucus.
Thank you, Justin. That was very useful information that I think our listeners should put to use in the potentiality that they get called up for jury duty.
Mm-hmm. If you are listening to this and you ever get called for jury duty, you did not hear this or any other episode of this podcast.
Yeah.
Do not let anyone find out that you are a Rock Hard Caucus listener. It's too late for me. I will never serve on a jury
Actually,
now.
actually, if you ever get called up for a jury, you do not have any strong opinions about anything.
That's
you
right.
are a moldable piece of clay, and you are willing and waiting to sit and watch a super long trial and not pass any judgment until the time is right.
If you are called for jury duty, you love rules. You have no opinion about the effects of those rules, the purpose of those rules. You only have an appreciation for the rules and the enforcement of those rules.
Yeah, and an appreciation for fairness and justice.
Mm-hmm. And fairness is always in the eyes of the state. So it's been a big week. Last Sunday, we talked to a couple friends of ours, Izzy and Maggie. And following that interview, the two of them were tried for a couple of criminal charges. Serious misdemeanors, I believe they're called. I don't take them all that seriously, but they are called serious misdemeanors.
Yeah, you shouldn't really take a misdemeanor that seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Is that worse than aggravated, or is it less than aggravated? I think aggravated is worse.
It seems like it should be, right? I'm pretty ignorant of this, but aggravation seems like a step past seriousness.
Oh, okay, yeah. Aggravated misdemeanor can carry up to 2 years in prison. While serious misdemeanors carry up to 1 year per Iowa code.
Okay.
903.1.
Mm-hmm. Great.
We don't need to know things. We just Google shit.
We're becoming legal scholars, though, because of what we were witnessing. All right, the trial began on Tuesday and was completed on Wednesday. They are still awaiting sentencing, so I want to stress this at the top as we discuss what I observed and how it's being discussed by local media figures. Izzy and Maggie are not present for this conversation. I did not clear anything that I was going to say with them. They don't have any knowledge of what I'm going to talk about on the podcast. They're not responsible for anything that I say or that Evan says over the next hour. They are innocent of any podcast crimes, all right? In fact, they're not even responsible for anything they said last week. That was all me.
Yeah, Justin and I are willing to be the shield.
I've been working on making myself a lightning rod. I'm going to include an informative link about jury nullification in the episode description as well, if anyone would like to learn more. But again, keep that information to yourself if you are ever interrogated by law enforcement or anything like that. You don't know about this show. You don't know about the concept of jury nullification.
Mm-hmm. You don't know nothing about no politics.
In order for jury nullification to work, they can't know that you're going to do it, basically. So I observed most of this trial. I was there for everything on Tuesday, and I had to miss Wednesday morning, which is... I missed something massive on Wednesday morning, but we'll get to that. But then I did see Wednesday afternoon. So I saw about 75% of this trial. I wasn't taking any notes in the moments, so everything... I was planning on just, like, shooting the shit with Evan, just bringing stuff up as I remembered it. But this morning, an important article was published in the Gazette, which I think we have to use to frame our discussion of this.
Yeah, very good timing on that.
Mm-hmm. And this was written by another person who was observing the trial. We were in close proximity for several hours. Althea Cole of the Cedar Rapids Gazette wrote this opinion piece published at 5 a.m. today, February 11th. The headline is, "With Disaster Averted, Protesters Get Slap on the Wrist." The subhead is very good, too. Defendants lose their marbles, but not their, parentheses, entire court case. So what that means is that they got a guilty verdict on one charge and hung jury on the other. Mm-hmm. The opening of this piece is incredible. You know what? Actually, before I start reading Althea's newest column...
Take a look at her prior work.
Well, yeah, there is that. I think we covered an old piece of hers that may have preceded the Marbles protest, right? Okay, so Todd Dorman, this is what I want to make sure people know. Not everyone is aware of this. Todd Dorman, he also works at the Gazette. He's some kind of editorial guy. He's a lib. Mm-hmm. And the other day he tweeted, "Congratulations to Gazette editorial fellow Sophia DiMartino and staff columnist Althea Cole for winning Master Columnist at the Iowa Newspaper Association Awards banquet tonight. Recognition well earned for their outstanding work."
So they went from apprentice to master.
Yeah. Well, they may have been journeyman columnists in between. Mm-hmm. So this is somebody who recently won a prestigious award at the Iowa Newspaper Association Awards banquet and is being congratulated and praised by her colleague, Todd Dorman. So I just wanted to make sure everyone knows, what we're about to discuss. This is somebody who has very recently won an award for her work. The piece begins. On the morning of Tuesday, February 6th, an account on X bearing the name Izzy Nation posted a picture of a young transgender woman taking a selfie in front of a bathroom mirror while dressed in professional attire. The post was captioned, "Dog, look at my defendant, she's going to prison."
Yeah.
So Izzy's tweets are now a matter of, like, public record in a local paper. And there's a link to it. Izzy's handle on Twitter is Futch Boyfriend. Apologies if I'm saying a slur there. I don't actually know what that means. What is Futch? Do you know?
Nope. I'm not gonna wade into that either.
I probably shouldn't have said it again. Yeah. There's a detail that doesn't come through when I'm just reading it, but the capital D that's between brackets there. You see that in the quote?
Yeah. I was wondering. Yeah, they had to capitalize the lowercase because that's how you start a sentence. That's good journalist stuff to know that capital letters start sentences.
Right. It wouldn't be proper for us to quote Izzy's tweet like verbatim. We have to capitalize the beginning of it. Otherwise, It's not a real sentence.
Yeah.
Also, I want to note that Izzy's current Twitter handle is homosexual beast mode. And I wish that had been printed here in the Gazette.
True. That would have been good.
Later that morning, while wearing the same outfit, the person in that photo, Izzy Kippis, went on trial for charges stemming from an act committed when conservative commentator and provocateur Matt Walsh appeared at the University of Iowa on the evening of April 19th, 2023. Walsh spoke to a capacity crowd at the Iowa Memorial Union, after an afternoon screening of his documentary,
Oh, shit.
What is a Woman?
Oh, shit.
Got her ass.
Oh, my fucking God. Oh, my God. Now you can't even go back and edit it later. Oh, they even updated it once. Wow. Wow. Good thing we recorded this so early.
Well, that's an interesting point. This one that we're looking at now was updated 25 minutes after it was initially posted, but there's also a version of this that was posted at 8 a.m. There's currently, as we record,
Oh, really?
two versions of this on the Gazette website, and the one I'm looking at right now has actual like photographic evidence that was presented at the trial. The other one just has a generic like protest photo. But what's going on? Why has this article been posted twice? I don't know. I can't answer that. This is award-winning journalism, though.
Yeah.
Kippis and co-defendant Elizabeth Jorgensen, also a transgender woman, were charged with criminal mischief in the 5th degree and disorderly conduct for dropping a large quantity of marbles on a hard floor at the top of the staircase near a major point of entry into the IMU building, which caused a significant safety hazard to hundreds of people nearby. So, criminal mischief in the 5th degree.
Yeah, I know that they get a slap on their wrist as if there was any other fucking outcome. Like, even if they were convicted on both of them, like, come on now. Treating this
degree.
It's a prank that I will say is funny. I'm not going to wade into the legality of it, but it's getting a little ahead of ourselves on the importance of this. I mean, like 99% of people would have just pled out to this immediately, and it's, very brave of them to even have gone on trial, and obviously they got a better outcome out of it, I think, than if they hadn't gone to trial. So, yeah, we're the only people who should be covering this, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, this should be a conversation for friends of the defendants only. No one else should be that concerned about it. Yeah, so the other night I was looking at the Iowa Code for criminal mischief, and it's a lot of boring details, but basically degrees 1 through 4 are pretty clearly defined as like, this is what makes it first degree criminal mischief. These are the qualifications for second. And then the definition of 5th degree for criminal mischief is if the criminal mischief does not meet the qualifications for degrees 1 through 4, it is 5th degree. So it's like, so if they basically didn't do anything and you want to charge them with something, you can go all the way down to 5 here.
Yeah. If they were miming in public, that's 5th degree.
Oh, this is interesting. This link here. Like 2 halves of a pecan, Kippis and Jorgensen are nuts from the same shell.
Wow. So now we're going to get, this is libel, actually.
They reside together in Iowa City, which made them easier for police to identify and locate. I'm not sure how that helps, really.
They're not following the OPSEC rules. They live together. This is what she's mad about.
If you have a government address, you can be found.
These people are so stupid to live together. Fucking idiots.
They protest the things leftists like to protest together. And that is a link to a Daily Iowan article from the Ralston Creek cleanup protest that these two were a part of back in October. As if, I don't know, she's like, she's demonstrating a pattern here.
Yeah.
These two care about things and take action in ways. They committed their devious act together, and being represented already by the same criminal defense attorney, they went on trial together for the identical charges of disorderly conduct and criminal mischief in the 5th degree. So that is 2 paragraphs in a row where she tells us what the charges are.
What the fuck?
speaking of them having the same defense attorney.
Yeah, wow.
I have been paying attention to a Facebook page, the Johnson County Republicans of Iowa, who also had someone in attendance at the trial. I don't think this was Althea Cole making these Facebook posts. I think I know who it was, but I don't know the person's name. I've just seen this person around when I have attended maybe Ron DeSantis campaign stops. Maybe I made a connection that way. Yeah, here. So on February 6th, after the first day of the trial concluded, somebody posted this on the Johnson County Republicans of Iowa Facebook page. The defense attorney is Gina Messimer of Parish Crudenier Law in Des Moines. How their services was paid for and by whom is unknown.
Jesus fucking Christ. This is award-winning journalism here.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, this is just a Facebook post. Althea Cole's not responsible for that.
Oh, sorry,
but Yeah, but how they paid for their lawyer is unknown. Like, are they suggesting a Soros connection or something?
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Okay, back to Althea Cole's piece. This is no more Facebook post. Kippis and Jorgensen did not deny that they were the two individuals who dropped a crap ton of little glass rolling things around a big crowd.
This is so bad.
You didn't want to say marbles again?
Bad. A crap ton?
Crap ton. It's hyphenated also. A crap ton of little glass rolling things. Not that there was much of a point in denying it. Surveillance images and videos introduced as evidence for the state, explained to the jury by UI police detective Ian Mallory, were able to link the defendants to the act through the backpacks they wore on the way into the building. Okay, something that was learned definitively in the course of these proceedings is that University of Iowa police detective Ian Mallory listens to this podcast. He is most likely hearing this right now. His job, as far as most of us can tell, is to read everyone's tweets.
I bet he gets paid well for it, too.
Yeah, probably. You can look that up. All state employees' salaries are posted online.
Yeah,
I didn't think to check that. So this is what I'm talking about, what I missed on Wednesday morning. Ian Mallory testified on Wednesday morning, and I had to work. I have a job, unfortunately. I have several jobs, unfortunately. And so he, the state prosecutor was asking Ian questions. They were presenting surveillance footage from several angles outside of the building, which showed our friends with backpacks going in and out of the building. But the defense was also, of course, able to ask the witness some questions and asked him if he listens to a podcast called Rock Hard Caucus. And he said that he does. And then a follow-up question was, do you listen to this podcast for recreational or investigative purposes? And he said both.
Oh, so he's a fan. Dude, sign up for the Patreon, Ian. Come
on. Yeah, so I didn't prepare a statement to address this. I didn't write anything down that I wanted to give as a message to Ian Mallory, but I do want to say that I do admire you for getting paid to listen to our podcast. That's good. That goes for pretty much anyone listening right now. If you listen to this show on the clock, that's great. If you listen to this off the clock, or you listen to any podcast when you're not sitting at a desk being paid, there's probably better ways for you to spend your time.
True. But he makes, okay, I did find his public records. He makes about $80,000 a year to listen to our podcast.
I can't say that.
Which is honestly, yeah, good for him.
Yeah. I'm jealous more than anything.
Yeah, same.
He makes more money to listen to the podcast than we make.
Sucks, man.
To record it.
Yeah,
much more.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, just, Ian, how dare you listen to this for recreational purposes? I'm asking you, from now on, you are only allowed to listen to this show while you are being paid by the University of Iowa. And please don't violate that. This is a boundary between us. I only want you to listen to this when you're being paid to do so. And
Good
I
call.
will check. I have the IP addresses of every single download. That's not the only time that our podcast came up during the trial, actually. Tuesday morning, I sat through the jury selection, and I think it would be weird to like talk too much about the jurors, right?
Right.
But the prosecutor asked them if they were familiar with Rock Hard Caucus. I was in the room, and I had to just look at the floor, try not to laugh out loud. It was an embarrassing moment for me because none of them raised their hands.
Oh.
But maybe they understood. If there was a covert listener in there, they understood, like, I shouldn't admit to this.
Yeah, well, if they had listened to the last episode, then they would have known better. So.
Yeah. Oh, what a thrill to be mentioned in a courtroom. Here's a good point. None of the surveillance evidence presented by the state actually showed Kippis and Jorgensen dumping the marbles. Instead, Detective Mallory pieced together surveillance video showing two individuals crossing the Iowa River on the footbridge toward the IMU wearing backpacks, the shape and sag of which indicated that the items inside were fairly weighty.
I got the forensics team on the case here. That bag was a little saggy. Got some indicator there's something potentially glass rolling. What was that she used earlier? There possibly was a crap ton of little glass rolling things in there.
Your backpacks are sagging. Pull up your damn backpacks. At one point in the video, one of the individuals briefly strains to lift their backpack after setting it down for during a quick break.
Oh my fucking God. Canceled.
Bad at writing.
Adam Sullivan would have done a better job, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as I can understand, this was his replacement. He left the Gazette, and now they have someone writing
at least
worse conservative articles.
They need at least one crank, like, libertarian conservative person on the staff.
Yeah,
but no loose lenses. You can't have any of those.
Yeah, she pisses the wrong kinds of people off, so she's not allowed to have a job anymore. To Adam's credit, like, he actually like is somewhat of a principled libertarian.
Yeah,
you know?
Adam actually would have had a good take on this one. I think actually,
yeah,
he would have called
so.
it fucking stupid.
Yeah,
because he hates cops. I think, which is as a libertarian, that's what you that's what you should.
That's the right way to be a libertarian. Yeah. Althea Cole is more of a just social conservative, regressive type person. Shortly after, footage shows Jorgensen setting the backpack down on the ground at Hubbard Park, a large open grassy area directly south of the IMU building where protesters had gathered in force. Okay, I should talk a little bit about who else was called to the stand. Okay, University of Iowa police officers Joshua Lovick, Sarah Sand, and Brad Schramm, and Ian Mallory, who was already mentioned. And then Corey Lockwood was also a witness, and he, I don't have his actual title written down, but he is some kind of administrator with the building, so he helps coordinate events and large gatherings and stuff. So the mention of Hubbard Park is what reminded me to check back with the list of witnesses here. Brad Schramm, so he's a university cop who was getting paid overtime to be in the IMU that night and, observe and,
So he's having the time of his life.
I mean, that's the case for all of these cops. Like, they were being paid overtime to be there. This is a special assignment, So Hubbard Park, Corey Lockwood also talked about this, the IMU administrative guy. Hubbard Park was designated as a protest area.
Free speech zone.
Basically, yeah. And for anyone who's not familiar with the area, it's just like a block of field that's just immediately south of the building. And I say south, right? So one of the most important pieces of evidence for the whole trial was a map. They had a map of the first floor of the building with certain parts highlighted. Like, here's the ballroom where Matt Walsh was. Here's the path that attendees took to get to that ballroom. Here is the south lobby where the marbles were dumped. Okay, so we're all referring to the same map together. Gina Messimer, the defense attorney, refers to this map while she's like cross-examining all these cops. And Brad Schramm was asked, where is Hubbard Park? Just for everyone's knowledge, where is that park? And he is looking at the map and he points to a space on the east side of the map. So that's where the street is and the parking ramp and stuff.
Are you questioning the credibility of the state's witness here?
A little bit. Like, you guys work for this university and are in this building presumably like all the time, and like leading up to this event you had to have prepared in some ways, right? You know, like the layout of the area, I would think.
Yeah, I don't know if police really do prepare for these sort of things.
Well, yeah, and that's sort of what was coming across during the like questioning of these witnesses, is like they talked about how they had meetings leading up to this to like get ready, but then they also all were like, no, we don't really know anything about Matt Walsh, we didn't look into him at all before this. Corey Lockwood, the IMU guy, happened to have been at a conference in, I think he said Madison, Wisconsin, where Walsh had done a similar event recently, and so he may have been there when it happened. It was kind of unclear, and I don't remember that well. But that's like the only reason he knew about Matt Walsh and what type of stuff happens at Matt Walsh events. Because he just like coincidentally was where one had just happened. For example, before Matt Walsh's University of Iowa event, he tweeted that his supporters should come to this event armed. That's one thing that it seems like it would have been helpful for them to be aware of prior, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, Brad Schramm could not point to Hubbard Park on a map. Another point that they were trying to make was that by dumping these marbles, it basically made the south entrance to the building unusable for a period of time. And the defense attorney was pointing at different entrances and exits around the building and asking the witnesses, like, could people have gone through here instead or here? And there's the south entrance to the IMU, right? And then there's one that they call the Hubbard entrance, which is like it's like around the corner on the east side. Those are like the two biggest entryways into this building. But between the two, there's like this one small door that goes into a stairwell, directly into a stairwell. And like, I know this because I have to go to that building sometimes. Like, I, like those cops, have attended the university and worked there and shit. So like, I know that there's a door there because I've seen it. but when asked about it, I think it was Josh Lovick who was asked specifically about this one like alternate entrance and exit. He was like, yeah, I don't know anything about that. How do they're either just lying in order to not like negatively impact the case, or they don't care about anything. Like, how could you not know the layout of the building where you're working? What's your job? What are you supposed to do?
Collect overtime.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Laugh at the protesters, probably. Under their breath.
After setting down the backpack, Jorgensen walks around the IMU building, testing several doors from the exterior. I didn't see the video, so I can't corroborate this part of the piece. Some were locked. Police had observed some concerning info on social media prior to the event about potential security issues. As a result, officials had planned several measures in advance, including controlling building access so event goers could only enter through certain doors. I don't remember what I was posting in the lead up to that, but sorry if I impacted some of those locked doors, everyone. And again, they had observed concerning info on social media from people who were planning to protest. They didn't happen to observe the guy putting on the event saying, "Hey, please bring a gun into this university building."
Yeah.
when you come watch my anti-trans movie.
Yeah, even this right-wing columnist referred to him as a provocateur. Like,
Right. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
after Jorgensen returned to the park and picked up the backpack that had been set down minutes earlier, security footage shows that both individuals entered the IMU with their backpacks through one of the few accessible entrances. Minutes later, the marbles were dumped and spotted by on-site police officer Sarah Sand, who couldn't make out the identities of the doers before they left, but found the backpacks they left behind, both with marbles still inside. The doers?
the doers.
The identities of the doers. This was the only piece of physical evidence that they had at this trial. They had the actual backpacks. They first showed the jury photos of the backpacks, and then in a dramatic twist, witness Sarah Sand on the stand opened up a big garbage bag, and oh my god, there they were, the backpacks themselves.
Would you say that were there any marbles still in the bags as they indicated here?
Well, okay, so a couple of the photos that they showed us showed that you could see marbles inside the backpack. But when they showed us in person the backpacks, they didn't like open them up or anything. They didn't show us, which I think wouldn't that have been pertinent to show us, here are the marbles.
Yeah.
Here's some of those little glass rolling things still in here. Leaving the backpacks for police to find turned out to be perhaps the second biggest mistake Kippis and Jorgensen made that evening. The unique color and pattern of one of them led police to the roommate radicals, who were spotted leaving the IMU without the backpacks they'd worn into the building, on time-stamped footage that lines up with the marble dropping. Roommate radicals.
Roommate radicals. Wow.
Yeah. Okay, so I know Izzy and Maggie fairly well. We see each other pretty regularly. We talk. Evan, you don't know them as well, right?
No.
But we just had them on our podcast last week, right? So in your limited experience with these two, would you consider them to be roommates, or perhaps something more than that?
Well, I mean, I believe the roommates has already been established. Yeah, I mean, yeah, this is just like a very clear way to just try to smear like radicals. Like that's like the worst thing that you can be.
Yeah, but you wanted that alliteration, so the RR.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, just this whole article though is just like, wow, fucking, like she's so mad about some marbles like that because like I guess people could have potentially slipped on them and gotten hurt, which didn't happen. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's fucking stupid.
When I see roommate radicals, it just makes me think that she just doesn't like to think about them as a couple, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a good point too.
It almost seems surprising. Two people with their intellect and education would make such a silly error. And then she lists their jobs, which maybe isn't necessary for me to repeat right now.
Or for her.
That's also true. And this is her saying like it was a huge mistake for them to leave evidence behind, to leave the backpacks there. But what's the alternative? The alternative is for them to keep the backpacks on and then be caught on video still wearing them. Like,
yeah, I mean, I guess you can criticize the OPSEC here, but it's kind of beside the point. I think I don't know.
Right, yeah,
I don't know what their thoughts were doing this. Or to what extent they were trying to not get caught. But
yeah. I mean, if they were like desperately trying not to get caught, there's other paths they could have taken.
Yeah.
But I just want to stress, though they have been found guilty of disorderly conduct in this event, there is no video footage of them doing it. All of the video presented by Ian Mallory was from cameras outside of the building. So maybe they aren't filming stuff inside the building. I don't know. I don't want to give them any ideas, although I'm sure they've had those ideas. And they also showed us body cam footage from two of the officers, Josh Lysick and Brad Schramm. Schramm's video, I think, took place entirely after the marbles were dumped. Lysick was stationed a little bit further north, like down a hallway in the building, and so his cam footage didn't catch anything either, of course. And Sarah Sand, who was the closest to the event itself, and as it says here, like saw it happen but wasn't able to catch the doers, right? She didn't present any body cam footage, which I would think would have been the most useful in this case. She was closest to the event. And I think that's because they can turn them on and off.
Yeah, they certainly can.
So that makes you think, like, what's the purpose of police body cams? Is it to hold the police accountable, or is it for them to have evidence of crimes occurring in front of them?
Yeah, police body cam thing. That was like one of like the big like Obama things that they, oh wow, now police have to wear body cams, like that is going to like solve everything, as if like the problem is just that like we haven't caught all of this stuff on tape before. Like, yeah, they're I guess helpful in some situations, but it's not an actual solution for any police reforms like they try to sell it as.
Yeah. Who's in control of the cameras? The officer themselves can turn it on and off. The video is kept by the cops, like the police department is in control of the footage. Like, it goes missing all the time in cases where it would be helpful to prosecute the police. Okay, so they made a silly error despite their intellect and education. But apparently there's no time to effectively plan devious acts when evil fascist bigots like Matt Walsh are on your turf, and his evil fascist bigot event-goers need punished for wanting to hear his remarks.
Oh, boo-hoo. Like, she's just saying that she could have done it better. Like, these fucking idiots. I could have done this at a anti-communist thing. Like, yeah.
And I think we're supposed to read that as sarcastic, but evil fascist bigots like Matt Walsh.
Yeah, it's not really. I mean, he's definitely a bigot. Evil and fascist. Yeah, probably.
Well, doesn't he self-describe?
Yeah, doesn't he like call himself like that? He isn't trying to really hide his opinions here.
Right. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, theocratic fascist. That's how he describes himself.
Oh,
so
okay,
I mean,
so he literally.
I think I'm maybe also supposed to read that as sarcastic, but
yeah, and being a theocrat is pretty anti-American, if you ask me. If you respect the Constitution, you can't really be a theocrat. So, yeah, I wonder how much Mrs. Cole actually agrees with Mr. Walsh.
Yeah. She attended the event. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, really?
I don't think she says so in this piece either. Things got dicey for a bit there. The UI student organization hosting Walsh, Young Americans for Freedom, had not charged money for the tickets. The organization's national sponsor requires that events be free and open to the public in order to sponsor speaking fees. They also had not capped the number of tickets to be obtained by interested event-goers. Mallory estimated that tickets were over-dispersed by an amount perhaps double the capacity of the IMU main lounge, the largest gathering area in the building, where Walsh's speech was given. So, the YAF chapter distributed tickets well in excess of capacity of where the event was taking place. But there's no consequence for that, I guess. Like, I think it's about an 800 cap room, and there were like 2,000 people trying to get in. Or maybe the 2,000 includes all the protesters as well.
Yeah, that seems like a safety issue in itself.
Right, yeah. And who's causing that problem? The marbles are insignificant in comparison to the massive crowd. Yeah.
With guns.
Perhaps, yeah. It's not like they were going through metal detectors.
Right.
I think there wasn't like a security checkpoint like to get into the ballroom itself, but up until there you could have anything. Like I'm pretty positive it's illegal to carry a weapon in that building, but no one knows.
I mean, we've already demonstrated you can carry weapons into courtrooms and like official like the legislature. So yeah, I don't know.
I did discover an important thing going to the courthouse this week. I had a new Nintendo 3DS in my pocket, which was not confiscated, so
Nice.
you are allowed to game. I don't think it would have gone well for me to have it out in the courtroom, though.
Yeah. Just sitting in the back of a courtroom with a Steam Deck, playing Vampire Survivors.
Okay, that's another thing that doesn't get mentioned in this piece. Althea Cole was observing the trial, right? I believe this was after we came back from lunch on Tuesday. She was sitting in the back row of the observers area with her phone fully out, just like this. And before they brought the jury in, the judge was like, hey, before we start, you in the back, please put your phone away. I was like, hell yeah, she's getting chastised. I think that, so since she's a member of the media, as are we.
Yep.
So that's well established at this point.
Yep.
Had expanded media coverage been granted for this trial, I think she would have been allowed to have her phone out, but it was not. And looking ahead at next month, our friend Tara McGovern has their trial on March 12th. Expanded media coverage has been granted. It was requested, I believe, by the Gazette, so perhaps Althea herself will be at that trial too. Mm-hmm. But Rock Hard Caucus will also be making every effort to cover that trial in real time. Just for anyone curious. I have learned a little bit more about how this shit works because of this week. Mm-hmm. So they oversold tickets. They oversold free tickets. That amounted to a very large number of intended event goers who were not granted access to the event. They had been waiting in a long and very large line. Long and very large line.
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing is very redundant. Like, this article could be about a third as long as it is. And like most of it, I guess, is just her like little zingers that she had to throw in.
Mm-hmm. So there is a long and very large line next to a second long and very large line of loudly chanting protesters. This is like a sort of a geometry problem. Two very large, long lines are at parallel angles. Will they ever intersect? The two sides were separated only by about 5 feet and a line of stanchions. Is that spelled right? I guess that is how you spell stanchion. But she very helpfully tells us what a stanchion is. Standing posts with ropes connected between them to help control crowds. Anyone ever been to any sort of public gathering space? You may have encountered a stanchion.
I mean, it was good of her to explain what it is, though.
They use the word stanchion like during the testimony, so I wonder, maybe that's why she had her phone out. You know, like these big words get said. I got to figure out what the hell this is. The stanchions, though, were hastily set up to encourage some well-advised distance. It doesn't take much for a group of neon-haired oddballs shouting, "Fuck you, fascist," at a group of disgusted conservatives to quickly devolve into a melee.
Okay, now, there's maybe they took the photos out because there's a bunch of people standing in the park. I don't see any neon hair out there. Maybe they updated the article to take out those photos because she didn't, the evidence for her statement doesn't exist.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I've said that I was present for this before, but I was at the building at this time. I do remember there being some dyed hair in attendance, but not any more than you'd usually encounter.
They need new lines, really. If you're gonna like attack protesters, you need new material.
Mm-hmm. Oh, why aren't you at work, fucker? Okay, so fuck you, fascist. It's also censored here. There's an asterisk instead of a U in fuck. And then she has on its own as a single sentence paragraph that is contained by parentheses. She says, "Somewhere down in hell, Franco and Mussolini are laughing at these goofballs' understanding of fascism." I know I'm nitpicking, but she deserves it. It's goofball apostrophe S, but she means this to be a plural possessive, so the apostrophe should be after the S. Come on. Franco and Mussolini are laughing at these goofballs' understanding of fascism.
Well, again, Matt Walsh calls himself a fascist, so the people who support him and are interested in hearing what he has to say are at least fascist adjacent. So
sympathetic to fascism.
Yeah.
But when told by police that they would absolutely not be getting into the event, some event goers turned around to discover a flood of marbles rolling around on the floor, separating them from the door through which they'd entered earlier and through which they intended to leave right then.
This is like just so dramatic.
Yeah, and so since I was there, I can provide some context for this. There's a body cam footage from Joshua Lysick, one of the officers. I said earlier he was stationed a bit further north in the building, away from the lobby where the marbles were deployed. And near the beginning of his footage that they showed us in the courtroom, or they were showing it to the jury, but I happened to see it as well. Officer Lys... Wait, did I say his name right? It's Lovick. Officer Lovick. Josh Lovick. He's telling people, the room's full. You're not going to get in. You should probably leave. And there's I forget who said it, but he has an interaction with a person, and one of them says, hey, there's marbles over there. No, it was Lovick telling the guy, it may be wise to leave the building now. Be careful, there's marbles by that exit, pointing to the south. And the guy, right up next to the body cam, you see him sort of roll his eyes and sigh and say, I know.
Very dangerous situation.
Yeah. So she's portraying this as like the marbles between me and my only exit. How will I escape? But in reality, the people were like, ugh, this nuisance. I'm slightly annoyed by this.
Yeah. Do you think that the people attending the Matt Walsh event were, older than average, maybe larger in body weight than average, and or more or less coordinated than average?
Honestly,
or is it like
really.
young?
I mean,
it might have been like a lot of
it was a
young
huge,
Republicans.
Huge range of people. Like people drove in from all around the county to go to this. And I again mostly just saw people who didn't get in, so I don't know what the crowd like in the actual room would have looked like. Mm-hmm. But could have been older because they tend to be the early birds,
Yeah.
I think I wrote WTF next to my notes, said Mallory. That's Ian Mallory, University of Iowa detective, listening right now, who testified for the state at the Little Miss Marxists trial last week.
Wow.
Little Miss Marxists.
Little Miss Marxists.
It's nice of her not to misgender them, at least.
Yeah. I wonder what her understanding of Marxist is, in comparison to these goofballs' understanding of fascism. I'm sure that the people protesting know a lot more about fascism than she knows about Marxism.
Definitely. I mean, I don't think it's even a question. Several police officers already on site for event security were needed to clear the area. A decision was made to close the south entrance, said Mallory, as by that point it was basically unusable. Were any of the event goers or protesters to have scaled the marbles only to slip and fall, the amount of chaos and calamity that could have ensued cannot be overstated.
Cannot be overstated. I'm going to take offense to that. I think you're overstating that calamity and chaos that could have ensued. Like someone might have slipped. I guess it's potential that someone could have broken their tailbone or something. But
sure,
even then, it seems like people were pretty aware of the marbles and they were maneuvering around them.
Yeah, I don't think it can be stressed enough that no one was injured at all. It was.
Did anyone even fall?
No. If they had, that would have been front and center of this trial, they had nothing. And this thing was a temporary inconvenience. Basically, from their perspective, this is the ideal protest. Is somebody created a temporary inconvenience. No one was hurt at all. And that was part of the defense's argument. Is this guy is coming to your town to say that your way of life is evil and that you are a pedophile, basically.
Yeah.
And And like, what the fuck are you supposed to do? Just like let it happen? Like, don't say anything to the people who gleefully attend this guy's like hate rallies? The thing that they chose to do didn't hurt a single person, just caused a headache for a while for the people who hate them.
Yeah. I mean, it's just ridiculous to like act like this is where the harm is. Like, the harm is having like fucking Matt Walsh speak on your campus. Like, that is like the problem. And people reacting to it is like a very insignificant thing in comparison to the actual problem of like basically having your community endorse this fucking freak.
Right. Yeah. Furthermore, were people to have experienced serious injury from slipping on the marbles and falling, Kippis and Jorgensen's legal liability, of course they still would have been caught, could have been significantly more severe. So if something had happened that hadn't happened, the consequences would have been greater. Right, but it didn't. As luck would have it, none of that happened. It was the steadfast and diligent efforts of the police officers on site that ensured no injuries occurred. Ironically, those efforts by police also likely ensured that the defendants' acts didn't earn them more serious charges, like felony willful injury. Izzy Kippis and Elizabeth Jorgensen should really thank University of Iowa police for helping them to stay out of jail.
Damn.
And for this, I will recall my memory of Brad Schramm's body cam footage, which was about 8 minutes of him standing around by the south entrance, while 4 or 5 of his colleagues also stood around. They kicked all the marbles down the stairs, by the way. The mass of marbles was dumped in the south lobby, and they chose to move them all closer to the stairs and then kick them down the stairs. Like, it is a hazard regardless of where the large pile of little glass rolling things is. But you moved them closer to the stairs. You pushed them onto the stairs. Instead, Kippis and Jorgensen will suffer no more than a slap on the wrist. A verdict of guilty was delivered by the jury on Thursday for the count of disorderly conduct, a simple misdemeanor punishable by no more than 30 days in jail and a fine of not more than $855. I don't expect that either will actually serve time.
Yeah, no shit.
I don't expect that either. On the other count, criminal mischief in the 5th degree, the jury was deadlocked and therefore could not return a guilty verdict. It's a halfway decent win for their defense attorney, Gina Messimer of Parrish Krudenier Law Firm of Des Moines. Sorry if I'm saying that name wrong. Krudenier. I don't know. Messimer, who I'd probably want in my corner if I needed a criminal defense, will be spending more time in Johnson County in the upcoming weeks and months defending other clients for protest, in quotes, related charges.
Come the fuck on, man.
So they're not protests, or like, what are you getting at with those quotes?
Yeah, and also, like, weren't the other, like, the Johnson County 7 charges were, like, they're, like, even less, like, legitimate than these.
Well, I would say so. Like, this is... I forget what the actual charges are against Tara. I believe something to do with also disorderly conduct, and I think there's, like, an interference with official acts charge in there.
Which is just, like, a fucking made-up charge most of the time.
Right. So this is like a large mass of people outside, and a few of them have been singled out because they were part of this crowd that were in the street.
Like, this one is they're prosecuting a prank, and the other one is, like, they're literally just prosecuting people protesting. Like, literally. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, The marbles was a unique action by a couple of people among a large group of protesters. The JoCo 7, go to joco7.org for more information and how to help. It's a group of people among a huge group of people all doing the same thing. That's a good distinction. I do agree with Althea's point here. I would also want Gina Messimer in my corner if I needed a criminal defense, because I think that I was very biased, of course, observing this trial, but I thought that the way that she defended her clients was exceptional. The defense basically being, isn't this kind of silly?
That's a good one. It's pretty silly.
Yeah. Iowa City's finest radicals have had a busy season, but it's best to tackle these cases one at a time. So I think she's threatening us with further opinion pieces about protests coming soon. In the meantime, if Kippis and Jorgensen want to continue sticking it to the man and protesting for justice and whatnot, they should try something that doesn't actually put other people's safety at risk. Whatever happened to just supergluing oneself to the wall? Okay, no one else is responsible for the words that Althea Cole has written here. So I can't criticize other people for what the stupid shit she's saying here. But the criminal mischief in the fifth degree charge, the prosecution's argument relied on specific wording of that crime, which involves the destruction, defacement, or alteration of property. Okay? They were really focusing on that word alter, to alter property, because obviously these marbles did not destroy the building or deface the building, but they're arguing that a large number of marbles altered the floor of the Iowa Memorial Union.
Very interesting. So, like, when a janitor puts up like a wet floor sign, that's also altering the floor of the building. It's illegal.
So Althea Cole here is suggesting that if you are to protest, why not superglue yourself to the wall? So if the state was pursuing charges based on their idea that marbles have altered a floor, do you think that superglue might alter a wall? I would say that's more of an alteration than marbles even.
Yeah.
And also we can compare this directly to some other protest charges recently. In December, a group of protesters chained themselves to some doors over at Kinnick Stadium to protest a fundraiser and the university's complicity in Israel's genocide. And I would say that that's comparable to supergluing yourself to the wall, right?
Yeah.
They are facing much harsher penalties. They were brutally arrested by the cops for doing that protest. And I believe the university is claiming that they have to replace the doors that that these people chained themselves to in order to, rack up the cost of what they're charging them with. Like, we have to replace those doors. That's thousands of dollars of damage that they've done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's beside the point anyway, because, like, obviously fucking Althea Cole doesn't give a shit about protests. She fucking will make fun of anyone doing anything. Yeah. So, like, if you're going to do something, you might as well get some media coverage that, like, ends up with someone writing this whiny ass article about you, Like, I don't know if this, like, makes them look that bad, really. It just makes, like, I don't know. I can't really put my, I can't really wear the shoes of a normal person, but
right, exactly. That's my problem too.
It seems absolutely ridiculous, like, the way she's hyping up, like, how, like, horrible of a thing this was. Like, it's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, she has to refer to, like, hypothetical things that could have happened in order to make this, like, sound like a crime, Like, it could have been really dangerous. It wasn't at all, but think about if it had been. I do wonder if there's, like, a precedent of someone who actually has, like, gotten, like, an assault charge for someone slipping on marbles. Cartoon style crime. Yeah. 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 It's like Wile E. Coyote shit. Yeah. The thing that I couldn't stop thinking about, like, I've never really sat through a trial. I have seen them on TV, and I've not just, like, fictional, but I've seen, like, footage of real trials, Like, that's really my only experience with this stuff. Like, the system that holds our lives and freedom in its hands is, like, so scary. Like, it's obviously better to have a jury trial than it would be to have the state just deciding
on its own, like whether you're guilty or innocent of stuff. But like the jury selection process is like, they ask people, do you have an opinion on transgender people? Do you have experience with this that would, do you have thoughts on this? Mm-hmm. And if a juror is forthcoming, which is a barrier, because like obviously you can just keep it to yourself and go through the process with your own motivations in mind. Remember jury nullification, everybody. This is this can go both ways, of course. So they ask, if somebody says, I have strong opinions on this matter, then they ask, do you think that those strong opinions would impact your impartiality when deciding this case? Like, yes. What are you talking about? There's just this false idea that anybody could go into a situation like this and not have any of their personal bias impact their decision making. Mm-hmm. That's not going to happen. That's not real. No. Well, and also you can just lie. Everyone in that room is lying the whole time.
Yeah. They deal in logic in the court system, logic and facts. So personal opinions don't have anything to do with any of that. So
right.
You got to throw it out.
And the judge is telling them repeatedly, like, your own opinions do not matter here. Like, we're telling you what the law is and we're showing you evidence, and then you have to decide if it's enough evidence. Mm-hmm. Your own opinion, you can't actually consider your own opinions here. But it's like, yes, they can. You can't stop them at all. And also the idea that if a trial lasts more than one day, the jury goes home that night and they tell them, okay, don't look at the news or anything.
Yeah.
All the stuff we told you about today in trial, don't Google it.
Yeah, I think people think that like trials are like always like the O.J. Simpson trial or something where like the jury gets sequestered or whatever,
locked in a room. Yeah,
yeah, like they have the resources to do that. Like, no, it's just try not to read any newspapers. Don't look at your phone too much. Block all your notifications from any news sources.
Right. I've shared too many of my strong opinions in a public forum to probably ever make it onto a jury at this point.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you right now, if I'm on a jury, the second I get home, I'm looking up everything.
Yeah.
Okay, other things I wanted to make sure I mention. I have put in an official request for the audio of the Marbles trial. I don't have that yet, of course, but may be useful to us in the future. And I've also, of course, requested official media recognition at terrorist trial on March 12th. Mm-hmm. I'll include a link to an article about that also, because terror's been getting a lot of media attention lately, which may impact jury selection, I would think.
Yeah.
Just a reminder for everyone listening, you don't listen.
Yeah, you've never listened to this fucking podcast.
You don't know about us. And I also wanted to mention, since it's happening tomorrow, there is in Des Moines at the Capitol going to be a public hearing for Kim Reynolds' anti-trans bill, the HSB that we were talking about last week. It's now known as House File 2389. A brief summary from Ty Rushing of the Iowa Starting Line. The bill would establish legal definitions of gendered terms like man, woman, father, and mother, and requires trans Iowans to have special birth certificates and use separate facilities in public facilities. So I guess the public hearing is at 5 p.m. in room 103 of the Iowa Capitol building tomorrow, February 12th. Very, very relevant to all the protests and criminal proceedings we've been talking about. So,
yeah, like, God fucking damn. Like, it's, if you don't have a strong opinion about this, then like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
I guess,
I think it is a moral obligation for us to make it as difficult as possible for any of these trials to be prosecuted.
Absolutely.
I will not be able to make it to Des Moines tomorrow, so Godspeed to everybody who can get there and be a part of this bullshit. I've been hearing that the Capitol cops have been increasingly aggro to all the protesters as well, so careful. They love pressing charges.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all I wanted to talk about today. Anything else on your mind?
I recently became eligible to run for president.
Oh, hell yeah, that's right. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I'm thinking 2028 might be my year. So, yeah, I think I could do a better job than, either the potential candidates or the incumbent.
Yeah.
But
I guess I
don't know if I have the stomach for it.
You would have been eligible
That's
for this
right.
year's
I
election.
would have been eligible
but,
for this year. I didn't really think about it until just now.
But 2028 gives us more time to prepare. It probably would be. I don't think you're in a great position right now.
No, I probably need to stop doing
November.
the podcast, actually. But it's something I've been thinking about.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, yeah, get ready for the Evan 2028 campaign. We'll get that started soon. I'm going to put some music at the end of this podcast. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I love to put local music at the end. So if you are in a band or something, please go to our website, rockhardcock.us, and click the link near the top to send us your music to feature at the end of the show. But today's selection is not a piece of local music. It's a clever reference that I'm going to do here. And if you recognize the music and you know what reference I'm making, you should call in at 319-849-8733 and tell us what music did I play and why. And you may win a special prize.
Nice.
I'm doing some engagement bait. I need people to call in more. Well, that'll do it. That's been Rock Hard Caucus episode 135. And remember, jurors cannot be punished for passing an incorrect verdict.
That's right. The thing, though, is that everyone has to vote the same. You have to.
Well, if you want the not guilty verdict.
If you want the not guilty verdict, you have to convince everyone else on the jury to vote that way. But I guess a hung jury is also still a better outcome because then they have to consider the extra resources that they would need to retry the case and all that.
Right.
I think it's another moral duty is to just tie up the state's resources as much as possible with stupid garbage like this shit.
It needs to be very difficult for them to prosecute protesters.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, keep that in mind, everybody. And don't tell anyone that you listen to the show.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, tell your friends that they should listen to the show, but don't tell them that you listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll work.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Bye.